The air was heavy with smoke. Strange blue fire burned inside tall stone bowls. The sound of drums echoed in the night, slow and deep. Each beat felt like a heartbeat, pounding against the chest of the soldier. He opened his eyes slowly. Chains. Cut into his wrists and ankles, he was lying on a cold stone altar. Alien symbols glowed all around him. He tried to move, but his body was weak. His vision was still blurred from the drug they had forced into him. Around him stood tall alien figures. Their skin was pale like moonlight. Their eyes were bright, glowing with gold fire. They wore black, robes covered with silver patterns. They were chanting words that made no sense to human ears. The sound was like whispers and screams mixed together. One of them stepped closer. She was different. Her face was not covered by a mask like the others. Her long hair shone white under the firelight. Her eyes locked on him not with hatred, but with something else, something he could not name. The soldier tried to speak, but his throat was dry. No words came out. The aliens raised their hands. Knives of crystal reflected the blue flames. The chanting grew louder. The air felt colder. The soldier understood. This was a sacrifice, and he was the one chosen to die. The woman with white hair stepped forward. The others bowed to her. She was the priestess. Her hands trembled as she held the blade. She lifted it high above her head. The firelight danced across her face. For a moment her eyes filled with pain. She looked at him again, and this time he saw it clearly. Fear. The drums stopped. The silence was sharp and heavy. The blade hovered above his chest. The soldier closed his eyes. This was the end. But then a whisper. Soft, broken, only he could hear. "You will save me," she said. His eyes opened wide. Her lips moved again, repeating the words, "You will save me." The soldier's heart raced. Why would an alien priestess, about to kill him, say those words? Her hands shook harder. The knife lowered slowly. The other aliens did not notice. Their heads were still bowed in prayer. She moved closer to him. Her face inches above his, her voice was urgent, filled with hidden fire. "If you die, I die too," she whispered. "They lied to me. You are my last hope." The soldier stared at her. He wanted to ask why. He wanted to ask how, but he had no strength. Her eyes searched his, desperate for trust. For one moment, two enemies looked at each other, not as human and alien, but as two souls trapped in the same cage. Then an explosion shook the temple. The walls cracked. Stones fell from above. The aliens screamed in panic. The chanting stopped. The priestess dropped the knife. The blade shattered on the stone floor. Smoke and fire filled the air. Outside, the sound of war echoed. Ships roared, weapons thundered. The world was breaking apart. The soldier coughed, choking on dust. The priestess pulled a small dagger from her robe. She cut the chains from his wrists and ankles. Her hands were quick, sharp, filled with fear and urgency. "Run," she said, her voice stronger now. "Run with me, or you will never see another sunrise." The soldier rolled off the altar, his body weak but alive. The temple shook again, and in that moment, he understood. The sacrifice was never meant to kill only him. It was meant to control her too. And now, both of their lives were tied together. The priestess grabbed his arm, pulling him toward the shadows. Her golden eyes burned like fire. The alien world screamed around them, and the human soldier realized the truth. This was not just a ritual. This was the beginning of something greater, something dangerous, something that could change the fate of two worlds. The temple was falling apart. Blue fire spilled from the broken bowls. Cracks raced across the stone floor. The air was filled with dust, smoke, and screams. The soldier staggered forward. His legs were weak from captivity. Every breath burned in his chest. The priestess kept pulling his arm, guiding him through the chaos. Behind them, the alien priests shouted in rage. They had seen their leader drop the blade. They had seen her cut his chains. To them, it was betrayal. To her, it was freedom. A stone pillar collapsed, crashing beside them. The sound shook the walls. The soldier almost fell, but the priestess held him up. Her strength was surprising for someone so slender. Her golden eyes shone bright in the darkness. "Move," she ordered, her voice sharp. "You must not stop now." The soldier wanted to ask her why. Why she saved him, why she risked her life. But there was no time. The enemy was closing in. Their footsteps thundered like marching drums. Weapons crackled with strange light. If they were caught, there would be no mercy. They rushed through a long hallway. Alien carvings glowed on the walls, symbols of old gods, symbols of death and sacrifice. The soldier felt the weight of history pressing down on him. This was no temple. This was a prison of blood. The priestess stopped suddenly. Ahead, 2 guards blocked the exit, their weapons aimed straight at them. The soldier froze, his body too weak to fight. But the priestess stepped forward without fear. She raised her hand. Strange energy rippled through the air. The guards hesitated, their eyes wide. In that moment she struck. The air exploded with light. The guards were thrown against the wall. Smoke rose from their armor. They did not move again. The soldier stared in shock. "You can fight," he whispered, his voice rough. The priestess turned to him, her face pale. "That was the last of my strength," she said. "Now you must fight for both of us." The soldier clenched his fists. He had no weapon, no armor, only his will. But he nodded, because deep inside, he knew she was right. If they were to survive, he could no longer be only a prisoner. He had to become a soldier again. They reached the outer gate. The night sky stretched above them. 2 moons hung like silver eyes. The jungle beyond was alive with shadows. The cries of alien beasts echoed in the distance. But the greater danger came from behind. More priests were chasing them. Their chants grew louder. The sound carried a dark power. The soldier felt his heart beating faster, his head spinning. The chants were trying to break his will. The priestess grabbed his hand. "Do not listen," she said firmly. "Focus on me." Her eyes locked on his, steady and fierce, and for a moment, the noise faded, only her voice remained. Calm, strong, unyielding. They ran into the jungle, roots twisted under their feet, branches tore at their clothes, the air smelled of wet earth and strange flowers. The soldier stumbled but did not fall. The priestess guided him, always ahead, always moving behind them. The priests entered the forest, their glowing eyes like fireflies of death. A roar shattered the night. Something massive moved in the shadows. The ground shook with every step. The soldier froze. "What was that?" he asked, his voice shaking. The priestess did not answer. Her face was pale, her lips pressed tight. She knew what hunted them, but she did not speak. Perhaps she feared naming it would make it real. The roar came again, closer now. Trees cracked, birds fled into the sky. The soldier's instinct screamed to run, but the priestess stopped. She placed her hand on his chest, her voice low, trembling. "If the beast finds us, we die," she said. "We must be silent, not even a breath." The jungle grew quiet, too quiet. Even the insects stopped singing. The soldier's heart pounded so loud he feared it would give them away. The air grew colder. A shadow larger than any man moved through the trees. The priests chasing them had also gone silent. Even they feared what walked in the darkness. The soldier and the priestess pressed their backs against the roots of a massive tree. Neither spoke, neither moved. Only the sound of the beast's breathing filled the night. Slow, deep, like thunder, and in that moment, the soldier understood. Escaping the temple was only the beginning. The real danger waited in the jungle. Something older, something stronger, something hungry. The jungle was alive with shadows. The air was heavy, thick with the smell of damp earth. Every step crunched on wet leaves. Every breath felt too loud. The soldier and the priestess pressed their backs against the roots of a giant tree. They waited, silent, while the beast moved through the darkness. The sound of its breathing was like thunder, slow and deep, shaking the ground beneath their feet. The soldier dared to glance sideways. For a moment, he saw it, a creature taller than Any man covered in dark scales, its eyes glowed red like fire trapped inside stone. Its claws scraped against trees, cutting bark as if it were paper. The priests chasing them had stopped. Even they did not dare to move. The jungle had gone silent. No bird called, no insect sang. Only the beast walked. The forest itself seemed to hold its breath. The soldier's muscles ached from staying still. Sweat rolled down his back. His heart beat so loud he was sure the beast would hear. The priestess touched his arm gently. Her eyes told him to stay calm. But then a branch snapped somewhere in the distance. One of the priests had moved. The beast's head turned. Its red eyes burned brighter. It let out a roar so loud the trees shook. And then it charged. The jungle exploded with sound. Priests screamed as the monster tore through them. Its claws slashed, its jaws snapped. The night filled with blood and terror. The soldier knew this was their chance. The priestess pulled him by the hand. "Now," she whispered, "we must run." They ran through the jungle. Roots tried to trip them. Branches whipped against their faces. The soldier's body still weak, but adrenaline pushed him forward. Behind them, the screams of the priests were cut short. And then silence again. The beast had finished. And now it hunted once more. The soldier stumbled but kept moving. The priestess glanced back, her face pale. "It will not stop," she said. "It hunts until nothing breathes." They pushed through thick vines and climbed over fallen logs. Every sound felt dangerous, every breath too loud, but still they ran. The ground trembled again, the beast was coming. Closer and closer, the soldier's chest burned. His legs felt like fire, but the priestess never slowed. Her white hair glowed under the moonlight. She moved like she knew the jungle, like she had walked these paths all her life. "Where are we going?" the soldier asked, his voice breaking. "There is a shrine, ahead," she answered. "Ancient, hidden, maybe even safe." But she did not sound certain. She sounded like someone clinging to a last hope. The jungle opened into a clearing. Stone ruins rose from the earth, broken and overgrown. Tall pillars, covered in vines, stood like silent giants, strange symbols carved deep into their surface. The priestess pulled him inside. The air here felt colder, heavier, like the stones remembered every scream, every death. They hid behind a crumbled wall. The soldier pressed his back against the stone, gasping for air. The priestess closed her eyes, whispering words in her language, prayers or spells he could not tell. The ground shook again. The beast had entered the ruins. Its red eyes glowed through the darkness. It sniffed the air, searching. The soldier gripped a broken piece of stone. It was not much, but it was something. He would fight if he had to. The priestess grabbed his hand. "No," she whispered sharply. "You cannot fight this, not yet." Her golden eyes met his, filled with fire and fear. "You must survive, do you understand?" The beast moved closer. Its shadow fell across the stone wall. Each step echoed like a drum of doom. The soldier's grip tightened on the stone. His breath slowed. He forced himself silent. But his mind screamed. The priestess leaned close, her lips almost touching his ear. "If it finds us," she whispered. "Run when I tell you, no matter what happens." The soldier looked at her. He saw no doubt in her eyes, only resolve. She was ready to sacrifice herself if needed. But he shook his head slowly. "I will not leave you," he whispered back. The beast stopped. Its head turned, its red eyes burned into the darkness where they hid. The silence stretched. Every second felt like a blade against the skin. Then the beast roared, and the ruins shook with the sound. Its massive body crashed through the stone. The chase was no longer waiting. It had begun again. The ruins trembled under the beast's roar. Stone blocks cracked and fell. Dust filled the air. The soldier pulled the priestess by the arm. They ran deeper into the ruins, their footsteps echoing on broken stone. The beast smashed through a wall behind them. Its claws scraped stone. Its breath was fire. Every roar shook the ground. The soldier's heart pounded, his body screamed in pain. But he did not stop. He could not stop. The priestess guided him through twisting halls. Her white hair streamed. Behind her, she moved quickly like she knew every hidden path. The soldier followed, trusting her steps more than his own. Finally, they reached a narrow tunnel. She pushed him inside. The passage was dark and tight. The beast could not follow. Its roars grew louder, then faded. The tunnel led them deep beneath the ruins. The sound of the jungle vanished. Only silence remained. The soldier leaned against the wall, breathing hard. His arms shook, his chest burned. The priestess stood in front of him, calm but pale. Her golden eyes glowed faintly in the dark. "We are safe for now," she whispered. "But not for long," the soldier finally spoke, his voice low, rough. "Why?" he asked. "Why save me when your people wanted me dead?" The priestess looked away. Her hand touched the wall, tracing the symbols carved into stone. "They lied to me," she said softly. "My people told me the sacrifice would bring peace. They told me your blood would stop the curse that eats our world." Her voice broke, trembling. "But it was not true." The soldier frowned. "What curse?" he asked. The priestess turned back to him, her eyes shining with tears. "Long ago my people made a pact," she said. "They built the machine beneath the temple. They fed it human life over and over for centuries. And it gave us power, power that turned us into rulers of this land." The soldier's fists clenched. "Human life," he whispered. "You kill us to keep your power." The priestess shook her head quickly, desperate. "I did not know," she said. "I was chosen as priestess when I was a child. They raised me in the temple, taught me only lies. I believed every word until I saw you." The soldier's eyes narrowed. "Why me?" he asked. "Why tell me this?" Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Because the prophecy is real. The machine cannot be destroyed by my people. It can only be ended by human hands. And I saw you in the visions." The soldier stared at her. He wanted to call her a liar. He wanted to turn away. But something in her voice, something in her eyes, stopped him. She was telling the truth, or at least what she believed was truth. The priestess stepped closer. Her hand touched his chest just above his heart. "You are not just a sacrifice," she said firmly. "You are the weapon that can end the curse." The soldier's body was weak, his mind still clouded from pain, but her words burned inside, him like fire. He had been captured, chained, nearly killed, and yet now she claimed he was their last hope, a single human, against a whole empire. The silence stretched between them. The soldier finally spoke. "And if I refuse?" he asked. His voice sharp. The priestess looked down. Her hands trembled. "Then my people will hunt you until you are gone," she whispered. "And the curse will never end." The soldier closed his eyes. The weight of her words pressed down on him. He thought of Earth, of the faces of his people. If what she said was true, then humans everywhere were in danger. Not just him, not just her, but all of them. The priestess stepped back, her voice breaking. "I know you have no reason to trust me," she said, "but I beg you, believe me." Her golden eyes shone in the dark, filled with both fire and sorrow. "If you fall, then I fall too." The soldier opened his eyes. For the first time since he was captured, he felt something different. Not just fear, not just anger, but purpose. Before he could answer, the ground shook. A low growl echoed through the tunnels. The beast had not given up. It was still hunting. Its claws scraped stone closer and closer. The soldier met her eyes. "We're not done talking," he said. "First, we survive." The priestess nodded, her face set with steel, and together they prepared to run once more. For the secret they had shared was only the beginning. The true danger was still ahead. The tunnels shook as the beast's growl faded into the distance, for now it hunted elsewhere. The soldier and the priestess moved quickly through the darkness. Every step echoed against the stone walls. Every sound reminded them they were not safe. The tunnel opened into a wide chamber. Broken statues of old gods stared at them with empty eyes. The floor was cracked, the air heavy with dust and ash. Strange light glowed faintly from the walls. The priestess slowed her steps, her face tense, her golden eyes scanning the shadows. "Something is wrong," she whispered. The soldier tightened his grip on a broken stone spear he had found earlier. He listened carefully. At first he heard only silence, but then footsteps. Not beast, not human, but alien. From the far side of the chamber, armored figures appeared, their robes dark, their weapons glowing. At their head walked a tall alien. "Warrior." His eyes burned with pride, his steps heavy with command. The priestess froze, her face pale. "Brother," she whispered. The soldier's jaw tightened. So this was Blood, her brother, the leader of the warriors. He stopped only a few steps away. His eyes never left the priestess. "Sister," he said, his voice cold but calm. "You dishonor our family." The priestess raised her chin. Her voice trembled but did not break. "I will not kill him," she said firmly. "I will not feed the machine." Her brother's face hardened. "You betray our people for a human," he growled. "Do you not see? He is weak. He is nothing." The soldier's grip tightened on the spear, but the priestess stepped forward. Blocking his path, "Do not," she whispered to him. Her brother's eyes narrowed. "You still protect him," he said with disgust. "Even now, when you know the cost." The soldier finally spoke, his voice sharp. "She saved me," he said. "And I will not let you take her." The warriors laughed. Their weapons hummed with deadly light. But her brother did not laugh. He stared at the soldier with hate. Then he looked back at his sister. "You have a choice," he said. "Kill him now, and return to us, or stand with him, and die as a traitor." The priestess's hands trembled. Tears filled her eyes. She looked at her brother, then at the soldier. For a moment, silence stretched. The soldier waited, ready for betrayal, ready for her blade to turn against him. But then she stepped closer to the soldier, her golden eyes fierce, her voice steady. "I choose him," she said. Her brother's face twisted in rage. The warriors raised their weapons, the chamber filled with light and sound. The soldier pushed the priestess behind him. He lifted the stone spear. The battle began. The first warrior lunged. The soldier swung hard. The spear cracked against the alien's armor. The enemy staggered but did not fall. Another blow came, and another. The soldier fought with pure will, each strike fueled by survival. The priestess raised her hands. Her voice rose in ancient words. Golden fire burst from her palms. 2 warriors fell, their armor burning, but the power left her trembling. Her strength fading fast, her brother charged forward, his blade glowing with deadly light. He struck at the soldier. The spear splintered under the blow. The soldier fell back, the force knocking him to the ground. Her brother stood above him, his blade raised high. The priestess screamed. She threw herself between them. The blade stopped only inches from her chest. Her brother's eyes widened. "You would die for him," he spat. The priestess met his gaze unyielding. "Yes," she said, "because he is the only hope we have left." The soldier rose to his feet, his fists clenched. He stood beside her, ready to fight, even with no weapon. Even with no chance, he would not leave her side. Her brother's face twisted with fury. The chamber shook as his warriors closed in again. The soldier and the priestess stood back to back, outnumbered, surrounded, but unbroken. And in that moment, the soldier understood. This was no longer her fight alone. It was theirs, together. And the price of betrayal was blood. The battle chamber was silent now. Bodies of warriors lay scattered across the broken floor. The smell of smoke and blood filled the air. The soldier stood leaning on the wall, his chest rising and falling with heavy breaths. The stone spear in his hand was broken, his arms bruised, his face cut. The priestess knelt beside him. Her golden eyes glowed faintly in the dark. She pressed her hands over his wounds, whispering strange words. A soft warmth spread through his skin. The bleeding slowed, the pain eased, but he could see the toll on her face. Her strength was fading, her body trembling. "You should not waste your power on me," he said quietly. But she shook her head. If you fall, I fall too, she whispered, her voice soft but fierce. I will not let that happen. The soldier looked at her. For the first time he saw not an enemy, not a priestess, but a woman caught between duty and truth, a woman who had chosen him over her own blood. They sat in silence for a moment. The firelight flickered on broken stone. The jungle roared faintly in the distance. For now, there was no beast, no pursuit, only quiet. The soldier broke the silence. You risked everything for me, he said. Why? The priestess lowered her gaze, her hands still glowing faintly on his wounds. When I was a child, they told me I would serve the gods, she whispered. They told me my life was not mine, it belonged to the temple. I obeyed because I did not know any other path. Her voice trembled, but she continued. When I saw you on the altar, chained, helpless, I saw myself, she said. I saw what I had become, a prisoner dressed in silk, bound by lies. Her golden eyes lifted to his, shining with pain. Saving you was the first choice I ever made for myself. The soldier felt her words cut deep. He understood chains, he understood orders. He too had lived under commands, but hers were chains of faith, chains that bent her spirit. And yet, she had broken them for him. He placed his hand gently on hers. Her breath caught. I don't trust easily, he said, his voice steady. I don't forgive easily either, but you've given me reason to fight. For the first time, a faint smile touched her lips. It was small, fragile, but real. You fight for yourself, she said. Not for me. But her voice carried hope, and the soldier knew she wanted him to live, not just for himself, but for them both. The silence grew warm. Despite the broken stones, despite the blood, there was a strange calm. The bond between them was no longer fragile. It was a spark, small but growing. Suddenly, the ground trembled again. The soldier stiffened, his hand tightening on the broken spear. The priestess closed her eyes, listening. It is not the beast, she whispered. It is the temple. The machine stirs. The soldier frowned. What machine? He asked. She looked at him with fear. The heart of our curse, she said. It wakes when blood is spilled. The chamber lights flickered. Strange energy pulsed through the walls. Symbols on the stone glowed faintly. The soldier's skin prickled. He could feel the hum of power. Deep and dangerous, the priestess stood, her legs weak but steady. She reached out her hand to him. We cannot stay here, she said firmly. The machine will call others, and worse things than beasts. The soldier took her hand, pulling himself up. Despite the pain, his body felt stronger than before. Not because of her healing, but because of her trust. For the first time since his capture, he was not alone. They moved through the ruins together, side by side, step by step. The priestess leaned on him when her strength faltered, and when he stumbled, her hand steadied him. The bond between them was no longer words. It was action. It was survival. As they reached the edge of the ruins, the soldier looked back. Once the chamber was glowing brighter now. Energy pulsed like a heartbeat. He knew whatever waited inside was not finished. It would come for them again. The priestess spoke softly, almost to herself. They will never forgive me for this, she said. They will hunt me until I am ash. The soldier's voice was steady when he answered. Then let them hunt us both. Her golden eyes widened. For a moment she could not speak. Then she nodded slowly, and in that nod, a silent vow was made. They were bound together now, by blood, by choice, by fate.
The night air outside the ruins was cold. The moons hung heavy in the sky, casting silver light through the jungle. The soldier and the priestess moved carefully, their steps slow. Every sound in the dark felt sharp, dangerous, alive. The priestess leaned against him, her strength still weak. The soldier kept one arm around her, guiding her through twisted roots and thick vines. Behind them, the ruins glowed faintly. Strange whispers rose from the stones, like voices that did not belong to the living. The soldier felt the hair on his neck rise. The machine inside the temple was awake, and something was calling, but the greater danger was not behind. It was ahead, hidden in the trees. The soldier stopped suddenly. The jungle was silent again. Too silent. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. The priestess opened her eyes wide. Her golden gaze scanned the shadows. "It hunts us," she whispered. "The beast." The soldier gripped a branch he had sharpened into a spear. His body was tired, but his will was steady. He had survived battle, survived betrayal. He would survive this too. Even if it killed him, the jungle moved. Branches bent, leaves shivered. A low growl rumbled through the air. The beast was close. Its red eyes burned in the dark like twin fires. It stepped into the moonlight, huge, scaled, covered in scars. Its claws dripped with blood, not their own. The soldier knew it had feasted on the priests, and now it wanted more. The priestess held his arm. "You cannot fight it," she whispered. "Not with wood, not with stone." The soldier looked at her. "If I don't, it will take you," he said. Her lips parted, but no words came. She saw the fire in his eyes, the fire of someone who refused to run. The beast roared, shaking the trees. Birds fled into the sky. The soldier stepped forward, his grip on the spear tight, his breath steady. He planted his feet, ready. For death, the beast lunged. Its claws tore the ground where he had stood. The soldier rolled aside, the air burning in his lungs. He struck with the spear. The tip cracked against the beast's scales. The wood splintered, useless. The beast roared again. Its tail swung, knocking him across the ground. Pain shot through his body, but he pushed himself up, refusing to stay down. The priestess raised her hands, her voice rising in ancient words. Golden light burst from her palms. The energy struck the beast's face. It screamed, rearing back, blinded for a moment. The soldier ran forward, grabbing a shard of stone from the ground. He leapt, slamming it into the beast's eye. The monster roared in pain, thrashing wildly. Its claw struck him, tearing across his chest. He fell hard, blood soaking his shirt. The priestess screamed his name. She ran to him, pulling him back into the shadows, her hands pressed against his wound, glowing faintly. "You will not die," she whispered, tears in her eyes. "You cannot die." The beast staggered, its eye bleeding. It smashed against trees, tearing them from the earth. It searched for them with fury, but it was wounded, slowed. For the first time, it knew pain. The soldier coughed, his voice weak. "You must finish it," he said. The priestess shook her head. "No," she whispered. "We finish it together." She lifted his hand, placing it on hers. Her golden light wrapped around his fingers. For a moment, their strength joined. The glow grew brighter, hotter. The beast turned toward them, sensing the power. It charged, the earth shaking with every step. The soldier and the priestess raised their hands together. A wave of golden fire exploded from their touch. The energy struck the beast full in the chest. It screamed, its body crashing through trees. The jungle lit with fire and smoke. When the light faded, the beast was gone. Was silent once more. The soldier collapsed back, his breath ragged. The priestess leaned over him, her face pale but relieved. "You fought like no human I have ever seen," she whispered. Her golden eyes glistened. "You are more than what they told me." The soldier managed a weak smile. "Or maybe I'm just too stubborn to die," he said. The priestess laughed softly, though tears still marked her face. But their moment of peace did not last. Above them, in the sky, ships moved through the clouds. Alien warships, their lights glowing like falling stars. The priestess looked up, her face filled with dread. "They are coming," she whispered. "Not just for us, but for all." The jungle glowed under the lights of the warships. Their engines rumbled like thunder, shaking the earth. The soldier and the priestess looked up from the shadows, exhausted, wounded, but alive. The priestess gripped his arm tightly. "They have found us," she whispered. Her golden eyes flickered with fear. The soldier clenched his fists, his chest still bleeding from the beast's claw. But he stood tall, his jaw set with iron. "Then we fight," he said. Before she could answer, beams of light swept through the jungle. Figures descended on ropes, armored warriors, their weapons glowing, the forest filled with their shouts. The soldier pushed the priestess behind him, his hand wrapped around a broken blade he had taken from a fallen enemy. Though his strength was fading, his will was sharp. The first warrior charged. The soldier swung. The blade cut deep, but another struck him from behind. Pain shot through his back. He staggered, still fighting. The priestess raised her hands. golden fire sparking in her palms. She blasted 2 warriors away, but more came, surrounding them in a circle of steel. The soldier fought until his arms gave way, until the blade fell from his bloody hands. The priestess cried out as they seized her. Ropes bound her wrists, chains pulled her to her knees. The soldier tried to reach her, but a heavy straw. Ike knocked him to the ground. Darkness swallowed his vision. When he opened his eyes again, he was inside a cage of steel. The floor of the warship hummed under him. Chains bit into his wrists and ankles. The air was cold, filled with the sound of engines. Across from him, the priestess sat bound in another cage, her face pale, her robe torn, but her golden eyes still burned with fire. Their captors stood around them, silent, watchful, their weapons always ready. The soldier leaned against the bars. "You should have left me," he said quietly. "This is your world, not mine." The priestess shook her head. Her voice was soft, but steady. "You still do not understand," she whispered. "If you die, then everything dies with you." The soldier frowned. He wanted answers, but before he could speak, the door opened, and her brother entered. Tall, armored, his eyes sharp as blades. He walked slowly, every step echoing. He stopped in front of her cage. "You had a chance," he said coldly. "You chose him instead of your people." The priestess lifted her chin. "I chose truth," she answered. Her brother's face twisted with rage. "There is no truth outside the temple," he growled. "There is only power." He turned to the soldier. "You are nothing," he spat. "A broken animal dragged into our war." The soldier stared back, silent, his eyes steady, his will unbroken. Her brother leaned closer to the priestess. "You will watch him die," he whispered, "and then you will return to us." The priestess's eyes burned, her voice cut like a blade. "I will never return," she said. Her brother struck the bars with his hand. The sound echoed through the chamber. His eyes glowed with fury. "Then you will fall with him," he snarled. He turned sharply and left. The door slammed behind him. The soldier and the priestess were left in silence. The engines roared beneath them, carrying them higher. Into the sky, the priestess lowered her head, her voice shaking. "They will take us back to the temple," she whispered. "The machine will not wait this time." The soldier closed his eyes. Pain burned through his chest, but his voice was steady. "Then we escape," he said. Her golden eyes lifted, filled with doubt. "You saw how many there are," she whispered. "We cannot fight them all." The soldier leaned closer to the bars. His eyes locked on hers. "We don't have to fight them all," he said. "We only have to fight long enough." She stared at him, silent. Then slowly, a faint smile touched her lips, a smile filled with both sorrow and hope. And in that moment, she believed him. Even in chains, even in a cage, he carried fire inside him, a fire her people had never known. The warship roared higher into the night sky. The temple awaited, and the machine pulsed, hungry for blood. The warship cut through the night sky. Its engines howled like a storm. The soldier sat in his cage, the iron biting into his skin. The priestess sat across from him, her golden eyes fixed on the floor. Neither spoke, but both felt the same weight pressing down. Hours passed before the ship descended. Through the bars, the soldier saw the temple again. But this time, it was different. The air around it glowed with strange energy. The stones trembled as if alive. The machine beneath had fully awakened. They were dragged from the cages. Chains clinked against stone as guards pulled them into the heart of the temple. The soldier's chest burned from his wounds, but he forced himself to stand tall. He would not show weakness, not to them. The great chamber was alive with light. Symbols carved in the walls glowed like fire. The ground pulsed with energy. At the center stood a vast machine, its surface black as obsidian, covered in veins of red light. The machine pulsed like a beating heart. Each throb shook the chamber. Each throb felt wrong. The soldier's eyes narrowed. "What is that?" he asked, his voice low. The priestess looked at him, her face pale. Her voice shook. "The heart of the pact," she whispered. "The machine that gave my people their power." The guards forced them closer. The soldier stared at the monstrous device. Its shape was not of alien design alone. He saw human bones built into the frame, skulls, ribs, hands fused with black stone. His stomach turned. "How many?" he whispered. The priestess's eyes filled with tears. "Thousands," she said, her voice breaking. "Every human we ever captured was fed into it." The machine throbbed louder. Images flashed in the soldier's mind. Humans dragged to the altar, their screams swallowed by fire. The priestess turned away, trembling. "I did not know," she said softly. "I was told it was sacred, that it saved us. But it was always hunger, nothing more." The soldier's fists clenched. "You lied to yourselves," he said. "You built your empire on our blood." The priestess dropped to her knees, her voice cracked with pain. "Yes," she whispered, "and I carry that shame." The machine's light grew brighter. Chains pulled the soldier closer. The priests gathered around, chanting in low voices. Their golden eyes glowed, their blades ready. The soldier struggled, but the chains held firm. Her brother stepped forward. His voice rose above the chanting. "Tonight the cycle is complete," he declared. "With his blood, the machine will awaken fully. Our empire will never fall." The priestess lifted her head. "No," she cried. Her voice echoed against the chamber walls. "You are blind. You do not see what this truly is." Her brother's eyes narrowed. "And what is it, sister?" he spat. The priestess pointed at the machine, her voice filled with fury. "It is not power," she said. "It is a prison." The chamber fell silent. Even the priests hesitated. The soldier's eyes widened. "What do you mean?" he asked. The priestess rose to her feet. Her chains rattled, but her ice grew strong. "This machine does not give us strength," she said. "It binds us to it. It feeds on humans, yes, but it also feeds on us. Priests is a slave to its will." The soldier looked around. The priests' faces were pale, their eyes flickering with fear. Even her brother's hand trembled on his blade. The priestess continued, her voice rising. "Without this machine, we would be free. But they fear freedom. They cling to power bought with blood." The soldier's chest tightened. He saw it now. The machine was not only a weapon, it was a chain around the neck of an entire people, and his blood was the key to its survival. The machine roared suddenly. Light burst from its core. The chamber shook as if the earth itself screamed. The priests raised their voices in panic. The soldier was dragged to the altar once more. The blade lifted above him. But this time he did not look at the knife. He looked at the priestess, her golden eyes locked with his, filled with fire, filled with defiance. "Destroy it," she whispered, "even if it kills us both." The soldier's jaw tightened. The chains cut into his skin. The machine pulsed, hungrier than ever, and he knew the moment of choice was close. The altar shook beneath the soldier, chains pulled tight against his arms and legs. The machine roared louder, its red veins glowed like rivers of fire. The priests chanted, their voices sharp like knives. The priestess struggled against her guards. Her wrists bled from the chains, her golden eyes burned with fury. "You fools," she shouted. "You are feeding the prison, not the gods." Her brother stepped forward, his blade raised high, his face hard, his eyes shining with pride. "With this sacrifice we rise," he declared. "Our empire will never fall." But the ground shook again. The machine throbbed with hunger, and this time, something else stirred in the shadows. A sound rose outside the temple, the sound of shouting, of marching feet. The soldier turned his head. Through the cracks in the wall, he saw them, a crowd of rebels, armed with stolen weapons, humans and outcasts who had broken free. The guards turned in panic. The war had begun. Explosions shook the temple walls. The chants broke, replaced by screams. The rebels poured inside. Blades clashed. Fire roared. The chamber became a storm of blood and steel. The soldier pulled against his chains with all his strength. The iron cut his skin, but he did not stop. He roared with fury. The altar cracked beneath him. The chain snapped. He rose to his feet, blood dripping, eyes blazing. The priestess ran to him. Her brother lunged to stop her, but the soldier caught his arm. Their blades clashed. Sparks flew. The two locked eyes, human against alien, brother against sister's choice. "You should have died on the altar," her brother spat. "You should never have stood beside her." The soldier gritted his teeth. "Better to die free," he said, "than live as a slave to your machine." He shoved the blade aside. The fight raged. Heavy strikes, sharp counters. Each blow shook the ground. The priestess lifted her hands. Golden fire burst from her palms. She struck down guards, clearing the way for the rebels. The machine screamed. Its voice filled the air, twisting like 1,000 cries. The red veins spread wider across the walls. The chamber shook as if the temple itself wanted to collapse. The priestess shouted over the chaos. "It knows you are here," she cried to the soldier. "It calls for your blood." The soldier looked at the machine. For a moment he felt its hunger pulling at his chest, whispering to him, offering power, offering strength, but he spat on the altar stone. "You will not take me," he growled. Her brother lunged again. The two clashed, blades ringing in the firelight. The soldier's arms shook with strain, but he pushed forward, step by step, until his blade cut through armor. Her brother fell back, wounded but still alive, his golden eyes filled with rage. "This is not over," he hissed. The priestess rushed to the soldier's side, her voice urgent. "You must destroy it now," she cried, "before it devours us all." The soldier looked at the machine. The rebels fought around it. Priests screamed as they were dragged down. Blood spilled on the floor, feeding the cursed heart. The machine grew brighter, louder, stronger. The choice was clear. The soldier stepped forward. The machine pulsed. It tried to speak in his mind, promising him power, promising him victory. He raised his blade. His voice rose above the chaos. "No more chains," he roared. "No more sacrifices." The priestess's eyes widened. Her voice trembled, but filled with hope. "The prophecy," she whispered. "It begins." The soldier charged. His blade struck the machine. Light exploded through the chamber. The priests screamed. The rebels shielded their eyes. The temple cracked from floor to ceiling. The war had reached its heart. And in that moment, the soldier understood. This was no longer just a fight for survival. It was a fight for two worlds, one built on blood, and one that still dared to hope. The machine screamed as the blade struck its core. Light burst across the chamber, blinding white and burning red. The walls cracked, stone falling like thunder. Priests wailed as their chants were broken. The rebels pressed forward, their blades cutting through the last of the guards. The soldier staggered back. The broken blade burned in his hands. The machine pulsed harder. Its voice filled his mind like 1,000 whispers. "Give me your blood," it hissed. "Feed me, and I will make you a god." The soldier clenched his teeth. He dropped the blade and spat on the stone. "I will never be your slave," he growled. The priestess rushed to his side, her golden eyes wide with terror. "It is not dead yet," she whispered. Her hands trembled as she touched the glowing core. "This heart cannot be broken with steel. It must be broken with life." The soldier turned to her sharply. "What do you mean?" he asked, her eyes filled with sorrow. "I can end it," she whispered. "My life will burn it out. The curse will fall." The soldier's chest tightened. "No," he said firmly. "You will not sacrifice yourself." But she shook her head, her voice cracked with pain. "It is the only way." The machine roared louder. The chamber shook. Rebels screamed as energy tore through the air. Priests collapsed, their eyes bleeding. The end was close. One life would decide it. The priestess stepped toward the core. Her white hair glowed in the red light, her face calm, though tears slid down her cheeks. She whispered, "I was born for chains, but I will die free." The soldier caught her arm, his grip strong despite his wounds. "If anyone burns, it will be me," he said. Her eyes widened. "No, you cannot," she cried. "You are the one the prophecy spoke of. You must live, you must lead them after." But the soldier shook his head, his voice steady, iron in his tone. "No prophecy owns me," he said. "I fight for choice, and this is mine." The priestess's tears fell. Her lips trembled. She wanted to argue, but deep inside, she knew he had already decided. The soldier turned to the rebels. "Get her out," he ordered. "Take her to safety." But the priestess broke free of their hands. She rushed back to him, her golden eyes blazing. "No," she shouted. "I will not leave you." The machine screamed again, its core cracked, red light spilling out like fire. The soldier grabbed the priestess's face in his hands, his voice fierce but soft. "You gave me hope when I had none," he said. "You made me fight when I was ready to die." He pressed his forehead against hers. "Now let me finish it." Before she could stop him, he turned and charged into the light. The machine roared as he plunged his hands into the glowing core. Pain tore through his body, every nerve. V burned, every bone screamed, but he held on. The light spread through him, his blood boiled, his heart thundered, yet he did not let go. The priestess screamed his name. She fought the rebels holding her back, her golden eyes filled with fire and tears. The soldier's voice rose above the machine. "For every human you took," he roared. "For every chain, for every sacrifice. No more." The machine shattered. Light exploded across the temple. The walls collapsed. The priests fell dead where they stood. The rebels shielded their eyes as fire tore through the ground, and then, silence. The machine was gone. Only ash remained where its heart had been. The soldier's body lay on the altar, still. His chest burned with deep wounds, his skin pale. The priestess broke free and rushed to him. She fell to her knees, her hands shaking as she touched his face. "Stay with me," she begged. "Please, stay." But his breath was faint, his eyes heavy. He looked at her one last time. "You are free now," he whispered. Then his eyes closed. The priestess bent over him, her tears falling on his skin. Her voice cracked as she whispered, "Human, you were always stronger than gods." The temple ruins glowed faintly in the dawn. The rebels stood in silence, their eyes on the two figures, one alien priestess, one fallen soldier, bound together by sacrifice, bound by hope. And as the first light of day touched the world, a new story began, not of chains, not of blood, but of freedom bought with courage, and of a human who chose to stand, even when gods demanded he kneel.